Now, Washington mornings on the Mall.
105.9 FM.
And AM 630.
WMAL.
7:37 on WMAL. Brian and Brian, this is where Washington comes to talk, and all of the people who have thoughtful things to say, they line up to be on our program. And chief among them is our good friend, Senator Rand Paul from the great state of Kentucky. Never make that mistake again. Senator, how are you? Good to have you with us.
Go Wildcats. Got to root for UK today.
Well, I bet that's right. Of course, the senator is a member of the Tea Party. He's a constitutional conservative, a libertarian. He is the son of Ron Paul, but it's good to have you here. Okay, look, I want to start out with this Paul Ryan plan. Paul Ryan laid out a plan yesterday over in the House that sort of caught my attention. I thought it was a good starting point and a thoughtful document. Have you had a chance to look at the key talking points on that, and what's your thought about it?
You know, I like Paul Ryan. I think he's one of the more thoughtful members. I think it's very strong and important that he's bringing up entitlement reform. The only thing I'm disappointed with, or the main thing I'm disappointed with, is that it takes 28 years for his budget to balance. My office has produced a budget that we released last week, which will balance in 5 years. I think you really can't. You have to balance within the term of an office or within at least someone's lifespan. And so 28 years to me is not believable, and I'm not sure we have 28 years as a country to wait to begin balancing the budget.
I thought I heard from Congressman Paul or somebody close to him, Paul Ryan, I should say. I'm sorry, I've been doing that a lot this morning. That he thought perhaps it could get balanced in 10 years, I guess, depending on the economy and the way you score it.
Yeah, I guess the official estimate that I've seen so far is 28 years, and it adds $3.5 trillion over the next 10 years. Our budget will actually begin running a surplus in 5 years, and if we were to enact ours, we would actually be paying down the debt by the time you get to 10 years.
Yeah, we talked about your plan not too long ago, and it called for the elimination of several agencies. But
that's the only way you can balance a budget. If you just tinker at the edges and slow down the growth of government, that's why it takes 28 years for anybody else's plan, because they're unwilling to eliminate agencies.
All right, the thing that everybody's talking about right now is about how much it costs to fill up their gasoline tanks. You know, we're hearing people say, guys, they called in this morning or wrote in this morning, $145 to fill up his Suburban. Secretary Chu was over giving testimony in Congress yesterday, and he said, I deserve at least an A for the job I've done to keep gas prices low. Do you agree with that assessment? And if not, what grade would you give Secretary Chu, Senator?
I'd give him a failing grade. And one reason he doesn't know what the price of gas is he doesn't own a car. He doesn't have to go to a pump and see what it's like to fill up your car to get to work.
That's right.
The other thing is that he's been picking winners in the solar industry, many of whom are large donors to the president. The 20th richest man in the country is George Kaiser. Why would we give a billionaire $500 million in loan? And I asked Secretary Chu this question. Do you think it's unseemly? Do you think it's a conflict of interest that Solyndra, this same company, had ex-employees approving their loan? Do you think it's a conflict of interest that Robert Kennedy Jr. got $1.8 billion and one of his ex-employees helped approve the loan? There really are some problems over there, and we shouldn't be picking winners and losers, period, but we certainly shouldn't be picking winners who are big contributors.
All right, how are we going to solve this problem with high gas prices?
Well, some of it has to do with the shrinking value of the dollar. We have such a massive deficit that we print up new money to pay for the deficit. That's that quantitative easing. And as we do so, the value of each individual unit of the currency diminishes. So really we're losing the value of the dollar. It's not that gas is more precious. Some of it is supply and demand, though. Some of it's worry about war. We need more supply, so obviously drilling is a plan. The president doesn't seem to think that that's a plan, but drilling for more oil increases the supply and will bring down the price. Their argument is, oh, well, that'll take a while. Yeah, that's why you ought to get started. It'll take a while. It's sort of like the arguments by saying, oh, it'll take 10 years to build a nuclear plant, so let's not do it. Well, no, that's all the more reason to get started drilling and building nuclear power plants and really trying to promote energy at all levels.
All right, we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of healthcare passing, Obamacare. In those 2 years, what have we seen happen to the healthcare system? Have we seen the full impact yet, and what impact have we seen at this point?
No, and I'm very concerned what we're going to see. The biggest concern I have is that tens of millions of people are going to lose their private insurance and be dumped onto government insurance or Medicaid. The reason this may happen is that the government fine is $2,000, but the average business is paying about $12,000 for private insurance. So if you're a struggling business, it's a bad economy right now. What happens if tens of millions, the McKinsey Group estimated it could be as much as 90 million people, half of the people in the country could lose their private insurance. This will bankrupt hospitals and bankrupt doctors because Medicaid pays at a lower rate. Doctors and hospitals tolerate a certain percentage of it, but when it rises to 40, 50, 60% of what they do, it'll put them into insolvency.
You know what I've heard anecdotally, Senator? Some of my friends who have jobs, and their company is now cutting back in terms of how much they're going to put in for health care. I mean, their premiums are going up. The individual premiums are going up to the point where they're even wondering whether it's worth it to get on the company payroll, on the company health care benefits. And if this law takes effect and you have to have insurance, what would that do? Would you see more and more companies say, you know what, we're just going to jack up the prices and we'll say, well, we offer it, nobody will get on it, it'll save us some money, and it'll force the individuals to either get on a government plan or I guess go out and buy it privately?
I think all of those are possibilities, but the biggest thing that we have to understand is that you're taking about 16% of the economy, 1/6 of the economy, and you're going to turn it on its head and say, oh, well, we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. That's why you should never have central planners in Washington monkeying with 16% of the economy, because the unknown and unintended side effects of all these decisions, like I say, could half of the people lose their private insurance. What about businesses, for example, in Owensboro, Kentucky, there's a guy who has a temp agency. He tells me he has 200 full-time employees, but he doesn't get insurance for them because they're temporary workers. $2,000 per employee, that's $400,000 bill. Where's he come up with that money if he's not been doing it currently?
All right. Do you have a sense of whether or not the Supreme Court will knock this out and say it's unconstitutional?
I think it's a little better than 50-50 that it'll be declared unconstitutional, and I think this is, like, you can't overstate how big this case is. It's not just about Obamacare. It's not just about health care. It's about the Commerce Clause, for which most big government programs over the last 70 years have been justified. So if we can narrow the expression or narrow the definition of the Commerce Clause, it'll go a long way towards restoring some constitutional restraint to government.
Senator Rand Paul, great to have you on the program. As always, we appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.